Hey, I'm meteorologist Logan Schlautman.
And I'm meteorologist Joe Farrell. Welcome everyone to episode number 2 of Local 5 Cloud Chat. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Something that you've definitely seen in the news and that we've talked about on our recent shows when we're on TV as well. And that is this record-breaking nor'easter that has been working its way along the Atlantic coast into the New England area,
Yeah,
dropping a bunch of snow. We'll talk about those totals here soon, but we do have your trivia question that we'll answer here at the end of the show. So let's go over to it.
let's dive right into the trivia question. I think this one, Logan, is going to trip a few people up. So, what season is the Earth closest to the sun? Is it A, spring, B, summer, fall, C, or D, winter?
It'll be a good one. We'll answer that here at the end of the show, but let's talk about this nor'easter. Now, this was quite the storm here, Joe. Give us a quick synopsis. Have you ever been in a nor'easter with the recent experience you've had? Because I have never been in one.
Yeah, I actually have. I've been in a couple, not to the intensity that this one had, but I have covered a couple, and they are kind of a little bit. They're just built different. How they're built different is the fact that they have the Atlantic Ocean to help fuel them. And so when you have an entire ocean to work with, and there's also no land friction either to kind of slow this thing down, kind of like when a hurricane moves over land, it starts to weaken. There's no land that this moves over. It's right over the ocean. So that's what makes nor'easters kind of built a little bit different. But this one, Logan, certainly packed an incredible punch.
Now, another question. Would you say that this is the closest we've seen to the movie Day After Tomorrow? Because
It has to
record
be.
breaking, a lot of snow. Maybe not temperature wise.
It has
It
to
was
be.
very cold in that movie, but I think snow wise, just looking at the totals here,
Yeah,
that'd be the
and
closest we've seen a Day After Tomorrow.
gosh, yeah, and the snow totals were incredible, but the wind along with this was incredible too. And I mean, this is hurricane force wind gusts that happened kind of off and on throughout this nor'easter. Montauk, New York, which is on Long Island, and it's kind of near the point and the easternmost point of Long Island in New York City. That is what had the recorded highest wind gusts, 84 miles per hour. Nantucket, Massachusetts, 83. So of course, Logan, some of these locations are right along the coast and right along the ocean. So, of course, they're going to get the highest wind gusts, but it's still very impressive to see these numbers.
84 miles an hour. That is just crazy. That's almost, I think, 30 miles an hour over what's considered a severe thunderstorm warning, at least the criteria for it.
Yeah,
So 84 miles an hour. You
incredible.
just don't see that every day.
And I mean, there's multiple states included in this list, and you'll see multiple states included in the snowfall list too, because snowfall totals were incredible. And I know that there was a snowfall report that came in this morning, just a little while before we started recording here, of 37 inches. That looks like that was the top amount that was recorded out of this storm. So 37 inches, that is just over 3 feet. 3 feet of snow. Incredible.
And to think that Iowa's snow depth total, so the most snow that we have seen in a depth in all of history, was 42 inches back in 1936. Now,
Insane.
just being able to see 37 inches, and if they've had anything prior, definitely would shatter that record. But
Right.
I could not fathom 37 inches. I just haven't been in a scenario, no lake effect snow, no nor'easter, just blizzards and snow squalls here that I've seen through.
Yeah, the most snow I've ever seen is 6 feet of snow that accumulated over 3 days, and that was up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. So very special places can get snow like this. And one quick note, Logan, on TF Green International Airport, that 32.8 inches, that came in a little bit later in the day yesterday. That is a record, and that's the airport in Providence, Rhode Island. That is a record storm total for them out of any storm in their recorded history, and it beat a record that was originally set in the blizzard of 1978.
I'll take it here. We're just not seeing that much snow here in February. We're not seeing 37 inches, at least just this February, which has been 24 days, 6.1 inches, which the National Weather Service did recalculate and put in some more of their observations. It was originally around 5.2, but it did get bumped up to 6.1, which compared to last February, we're still behind by half an inch here in Des Moines, but compared to the normal climatological point for to date, we're still over 2.5 inches away from that. So, the 5 inches that we did see going back to that recent winter snowstorm that
I
worked
was
its
just
way through
saying, it all
helped
happened
a
late
lot.
last week. Something interesting about this week is our temperatures and just the swings up and down, Logan, that, we're kind of going to go through here.
Yeah, it's definitely a roller coaster. Just looking at like the departures from normal, it starts slow as we've seen these temperatures, but Friday it's going to go up and then go back down. But definitely Thursday here, it's going to be those comfortable days. I maybe it's not the cool, but it's still above average. You can't go wrong with this time of year. But Friday is just that odd day out.
Friday's kind of a day, Futurecast, you saw the 60s kind of pop up there. At the local 5 weather team, we're a little bit on the fence about that. I, I think the snowpack isn't going to be totally gone by then, which I think will make a difference. Certainly going to, nonetheless, regardless, going to be an above average, comfortable day. I just don't, I just don't buy the 60s at this point in time. That's all.
Yeah,
That's all I wanted
definitely.
to
I
point out.
definitely agree with you there, Joe. But even going into Saturday as well, it's Saturday, it's the last day of February, but it's gonna be one of those days, where it actually feels the warmest in the morning and that afternoon, and then it just really stays down. You don't really get a lot of warming. It's just gonna be a little bit, and then it's gonna sink its way down to the 20s. Look at that, 11 p.m. Saturday. Those temperatures in the 20s.
We are still watching for some more snowfall. Now, we're not expecting a scenario like late last week where one day we were expecting 2 to 4 inches, and then the next day it was like, okay, this thing's going to bring some juice. This has actually been, Logan, kind of dwindling the last couple of days.
I would definitely agree with you, especially when I was working the weekend. I did see it was a nice trend that there was supposed to be being snow there, but just every day since then, it's really been going down. I know Tuesday it was showing a pretty good model run there, but then I came in today, looked at that, and I was like, "That's a massive change." But that's just how weather works sometimes.
Yeah,
It's just snow is, I would say, at least for me, is the toughest thing to forecast.
yeah.
It's so finite. Just one small detail, one temperature, even just a level in the atmosphere, just being a couple degrees warmer can totally bust your snow forecast.
Absolutely. It's always tough for sure. And just I rewound this back just to give you an idea that it's going to be the activity looks spotty. So it's not a constant snowfall for hours on end. It's going to be several hours, but it's just kind of off and on snow showers is kind of the activity that we are looking at. I'm going to just move the cursor back to Friday because you notice how that, colder air, it's just a complete exit on Friday, which is why we're expecting that one singular day of a little bit of a surge in warmth. But it just it just doesn't last.
As you can take here going into that Saturday, ending off your February, just look at that cooler air mass really work its way back in. But we're just staying on the boundary there, which is why I'd say, teeter-tottering between a lot of these cooler days and a lot of these warmer days. But I will say, starting off March looks to be on the cooler end. But,
Yeah,
we did have a very warm February.
we really did, and it's as Iowans and as Midwesterners, this is something that we expect these types of swings. We always joke that we have 14 seasons in Central Iowa. Sometimes it does feel that way, but we expect these swings, and it just looks like March is going to get off to a cool start, but it doesn't mean that the entire month of March is just going to be a frigid Arctic mess.
Yeah, now I got something here for y'all that I think 99% of you will definitely agree with. We're getting pretty later in the sunset times, as by Wednesday or tonight, Tuesday is our last sunset before 6 p.m., as Wednesday is the first sunset
How about
at
that?
6 p.m. Now, how long are we going to have these post 6 p.m. sunsets for, Joe?
It's until next November, isn't it?
November 1st, and that is going to be when daylight, not daylight savings time. It's
Daylight saving time.
daylight savings time. Yeah, we take that hour back,
Yeah.
and we'll be seeing those 5 p.m. sunsets. But we have the next couple months. The days are going to be getting longer, more time outside. It's just going to be
Oh
a
yeah.
great next couple of days.
And daylight saving time does uh, does go back into effect where we gain an hour or go ahead an hour, I should say, that is March 8th.
Yeah,
So
so
just a heads up there.
we won't have the sunsets here at 6 p.m. for a long time, just maybe a week, and then it'll just jump over into 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So even
Hey,
better, even better.
I was gonna say, yeah, even better. We'll take it either way. Taking a look at the, next 10 days, just kind of an extended outlook here. There's that chance for some more snow. Still expecting that. It's just not looking to be too impactful. Very nice Friday. And then, Logan heading into the weekend and early next week, more precipitation chances in there. It does look like a short little period of a more kind of active storm track.
It does look like I'm about to have some fun when I come into forecast here on the weekend and try to present that on TV. So I'll have to put on my thinking cap there for that Sunday and Monday. But I do like seeing those temperatures steadily do climb out. And I think I did see the Climate Prediction Center's 8 to 14 days. I did think I saw a bunch of the U.S. was put in a more above average. So hopefully we should be seeing a more warmer signal come back to March here.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned putting on your thinking cap. I'm gonna have to put on my thinking cap because we're gonna get into our little game, our weather game today. So let's
I have another
transition.
challenge set up for him. So yeah, let's go. Let's get into it. Okay, Joe, last episode, I gave you a Wordle and a connections, and you did a great job for never playing a Wordle, so I'll give you that there. But this time, I have the high low game for you, Joe. Thoughts?
I love this. I love higher or lower. I love doing it with like NBA players, past and present, seeing who had a higher lower scoring average in their career. So I think this is gonna be fun.
Perfect. So it's the same thing like that as where I'm going to give you one weather statistic and the other one will be hidden. Now, you have to guess if the second one's going to be higher or lower. So, for an example, the average annual rainfall in Seattle, Washington is 39 inches. Higher or lower, the average annual rainfall in New Orleans, Louisiana, which was 62 inches. So, that's going to be hidden, and you're going to have to tell me higher or lower. And then the answer will be revealed. Ch- uh, participants and guests as well, you
Yeah,
can
play
have
along.
you have the chance to beat Joe. Comment your record down below and see if you can beat Joe. Now, for Joe to pass, he has to score above a 7 out of 10. So let's see if you can get
I think I could do
let's see how
that.
much you can get of these right. We'll start off with stat number 1. You want to read this one off, Joe?
Yeah. So this is the average July temperature in Des Moines, which is average July temperature in Des Moines. Yes, excuse me, 76.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Higher or lower, the average July temperature in Marshalltown, Iowa. Marshalltown, little bit to the north and east of Des Moines. And so my immediate thought is lower. Now I'm guessing and I'm going to take a guess that it is close, but I'm still going to go lower.
Let's see. That is correct by 2 degrees. Do you think it'd be
Okay.
that much of a separation?
I didn't think it'd be that much of a separation, but I I'm obviously glad that I was able to get that one.
That's
All
1
right.
out of 1. Now I'll read this one off for you. So here we go. Now, since we're talking about snow, let's bring in some snow here. The average annual snowfall in Syracuse, New York is 113.7 inches. Could you imagine getting that much here in Iowa
No,
every
I
year? Or
can't.
like the average amount?
I can't
Now,
imagine.
higher or lower, the average annual snowfall in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is another big lake effect area.
It is a big lake effect area, and I am gonna go with that Erie's is lower.
That is correct. By a significant amount, I would say. Erie's always a place where people think a lot of snow is, but Syracuse,
I mean,
113, that
Sy
is quite the amount.
Syracuse is crazy, and, yeah, I mean, both of these locations obviously get a lot of snow, but Syracuse, yeah, they get absolutely pummeled.
You're on a good streak here, 2 for 2, but hopefully these next ones here can give you some curveballs. Now, the average January low in Minneapolis, Minnesota, 8.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Higher or lower, the average January low in Fargo, North Dakota.
You know what? I'm gonna go higher with this one because of the way that ridge patterns can kind of develop in the western kind of that western half in between the where we are in the Rocky Mountains and that western half of the area. I am going to go that Fargo is actually higher even though I think it's probably pretty close. Oh, it's way lower. Holy
It's,
cow, it's negative?
I was surprised too. I went through the data, looked at the climate stuff. and negative 2.9. Imagine that's the average January low is below
I mean,
sub-zero.
of course it makes sense, but man, yeah, my train of thought, obviously.
I have some friends that live in that area, and yeah, they're pretty acclimated to the
That's
cold there.
brutal.
Now,
That's
going away
brutal.
from like climate averages, let's bring in some hurricanes. So,
Ooh.
number of major hurricanes in 2020 was 7. Now, higher or lower, the number of major hurricanes in 2017. These are both
Oh
pretty
my gosh.
significant seasons hurricane wise.
I wanna say was Irma in 2017?
I believe that was Irma. Yep.
And I do remember 2020 being absolutely insane. 2020 was the year that we had to, like, go into the Greek alphabet, like, one time over. I am gonna oh gosh, this is such a tough one. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with more majors in 2017, but I do believe 2020 had more named storms.
And if you didn't know, it's
Gosh,
lower, but major hurricanes, I believe, count as anything category 3 or
yes.
above on the Saffir-Simpson scale, but
Oh, that was
very close
so close, but,
to 6.
2020 had a lot.
Yes, those were 2, I'd say, comparable seasons. So
If I remember correctly, at one point in the Atlantic Basin, there were 5 different named storms in 2020.
I think you might be right
That
there.
that was insane.
Now you're 2 for 4 right
I
now.
would say I need to
In
get
order to
back on
pass, you
track.
can only miss 1 more here. Now, I threw in some random places.
This
Average
is random.
October precipitation in Lava Hot Springs, Idaho. 1.33 inches. Higher or lower, Joe? The average October precipitation in Caribou, Maine.
Caribou, Maine's it has to be higher. Caribou, Maine has to be higher. Okay.
By
All
about
right.
2 by about 2
Which
inches.
is closer than I was kind of thinking it would be, but it's just I feel like there are more drier months in Idaho than Maine,
Yeah, definitely those
generally.
mountains just play a big factor there, especially if you're on those leeward
I
sides.
like that though, Logan. That was a nice little change up.
Alright, now going from a precipitation over into tornadoes. So, the total number of tornadoes during the December 2021 tornado outbreak, 120. Higher or lower, Joe? The total tornadoes in the 1981, yes, other places outside of the US do get tornadoes.
United
The
Kingdom.
United Kingdom tornado outbreak.
Incredible research.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank
Well
you.
done on this one.
Gotta keep it interesting.
And that December 2021, that was December 15th, right? Which is the single most tornadoes that have happened in the state of Iowa in a single day.
I had to take my calc final that day, and we were in a tornado warning, and we still had to take it right afterwards, and that was not good. That was not good. I was really hoping that I would get an extra day to study.
Am I crazy? Okay, I don't know at all. I have no clue on this one. Am I crazy to think I'd think about going higher just because I think you might throw in that type of curveball?
As I always say, it's a 50-50 shot.
I'm
And
gonna
here it
go.
is. It's higher or lower.
It's not higher. I'm going the UK tornado total was lower during their outbreak. Not by
That is
much.
now 104 tornadoes and an outbreak in the United Kingdom is very impressive.
That is very impressive because their atmosphere and the way that their weather dynamics work is so different from ours. I love that you looked that up. I love that you looked that up. That was great.
Now that puts you at
I've gotten 2 wrong so far,
4
so
out of 6.
yeah, 4 out of 6. So I can only get 1 more wrong.
Yeah. So here we go. We're gonna go with some records here now. So the record low temp in Guam
Guam.
during February was 65 degrees. Now, higher or lower, Joe? The
Ooh.
record high temp in Juneau, Alaska during February.
Oh my gosh, I love this one too.
Comparing a
You know
nice
what?
tropic area to a place that a lot of people think is cold.
Yes, but with some of those like huge Alaskan low pressure systems pulling in some of that warmer air, I think some of that can get pulled up into Juneau, and I think it's going to be really close. But I'm going to go with Juneau having a record high temp in February that's higher than the record low temp in Guam of 65.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Oh my gosh. My
Okay.
train of thought wasn't horrible,
Maybe it's the month.
but
Maybe it's just the month. This is in February too,
it is
so
February. But I tell you what, yes, it's 8 degrees, but still, Guam compared to Juneau, Alaska.
almost there. Okay, Joe, you are now
I need to get them right.
4 for 7. You have to go 3 for 3 here. You got that clutch gene in you and able to get that. Now, we're going away from the weather here. We're bringing out 2 classic movies that I think made a lot, especially Twister, made a lot of people meteorologists as their career here.
Oh my gosh, yes. The original Twister, that created a lot of meteorologists, I think. And
Okay,
Twisters
Joe,
was
yeah.
great too.
It was a great movie. Great
Yeah.
movie. All right, now,
Electric.
Twister IMBD rating is 6.6 out of 10. Higher or lower Twister's IMBD rating?
This is tough, man.
Which
I
one did they rate
So
higher?
I think the original Twister gets more love now than it might have back in the day. So I'm actually going to go that Twisters has a higher IMDb rating.
They're about the same.
By 0.1.
5. I had to double check it.
Brick.
Okay, and I saw it. I was like, oh, that's a perfect question to throw in there. 2
I'd rate-
great movies, though, but just
Of
by a
course.
smidge.
Of course, as me, and I just failed this game, but
Yeah.
whatever. Whatever. It's okay.
You have 2 more. These are some fun ones. I think there's definitely some people out there that probably did beat you. And they might be in your comments being like, yeah, I scored a higher. I
And
actually passed.
I honestly think for some of these, I overthought it. As a meteorologist, I overthought.
All right, here we go. The last one before the final, we got the average annual temperature in Richmond, Virginia, 58.9. Now, higher or lower, the average annual temperature in Salt Lake City, Utah. So we're going now. It's not like the local one where it's Marshalltown, Des Moines, where they're really close. We're comparing 2 places that are pretty far away geographically.
I feel like Salt Lake City doesn't get as many of the either the extreme heats or the extreme colds. They are higher in elevation than Richmond, obviously. I am gonna go with, again, am I overthinking it? Probably. I'm gonna go with that the average annual temp in Salt Lake City is lower than Richmond. Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, you just need to see one go in.
Yeah, yeah, and okay. I'm glad I got that one. But again, closer than
a lot of people think, especially when people think that Salt Lake City is a little bit up in the mountains too. Well, Virginia Beach is just pretty close to the ocean.
I like this one too.
That's going to be a good one. Now, record 24-hour rainfall in Seattle, Washington, 5.02 inches. Higher or lower, Joe? The record 24-hour total rainfall in Key West, Florida.
Key West is higher. Has to be higher than 5 inches.
Yeah, by a lot. 22.
Close to 2 feet.
Imagine getting that much inches of rain in a single day. 22.75 inches.
I remember in Fort Lauderdale a couple of years ago, there was one of those afternoon thunderstorms that developed and just sat over the Fort Lauderdale International Airport for hours on end, and they got like 24 inches in a 24-hour span, but 22 3/4, that's insane.
Now, Seattle probably has more rainy days, I would say, but just not the amount. It's like a more light rain compared to, like, especially when you get a hurricane to go through or some of these storms where it can just downpour.
Right, and I'm guessing that one in Seattle probably came from an atmospheric river. That's just a guess, but that'd be kind of my assumption.
Yeah, definitely. Now,
I failed.
Joe, unfortunately, you did get a 6 out of 10.
I failed.
You're one off. You got a 60%. Maybe, I definitely got that in an exam once in college, I will say. So can't go wrong with that.
It's okay.
Now, drop your score in the comment, but you have another chance to get another question here, too, with our trivia question here.
Let's go back to it.
It is winter, actually, not summer.
Might surprise
you might
a
correlate
few of you.
Just being closer to the sun that we get more heat because it's summertime and that's when it's the warmest, but it's actually the winter. Now, Joe, why is it winter?
It's winter because of the way that Earth rotates on its axis, and it just so happens that the winter solstice is actually when we are closest to the sun, but the sun angle for us is like more, it's less direct, it's more horizontal. And so that means we don't get as much of the sun's energy, even though we're actually closest to it during that time.
Such a cool fact. Now, we do have a question here for our Ask a Meteorologist segment, and James Johnson asked, "What is the difference between weather and climate?"
And it's always a good question because it's something that, especially with how much it's it's an interesting question because I think especially with how much the climate gets talked about at a large scale with when it comes to global warming, climate change, whatever term, gets thrown around. I think it sometimes can get confusing for people. So the difference between the two is climate is like, think of it as a 30-year average. It's an average over a long period of time. So, taking like kind of our higher and lower games, some of the averages, that's climatological
Yeah.
type, numbers, whereas weather, Logan, is,
What's happening right now,
yeah.
which is going to be potentially some snow on Wednesday and some warmer temperature on Friday.
Yeah. So there, if you don't have to confuse weather and climate again. Weather is the here and now in the very near future. Climate is over a long period of time.
Yeah, well, we want to thank you for joining in on our second episode. Make sure to catch us next time for episode 3. And if you have any requests for any challenges you want to see us try or any questions, make sure to drop a comment. I'm
Absolutely.
meteorologist Logan Schlautman.
And I'm meteorologist Joe Farrell. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.